This is Jakob Bilinski, the director of Three Tears on Bloodstained Flesh, and you're listening to Gruesome Herzog, the voice of horror.
Hello, everyone. This is Gruesome Herzog. My very special guest is director, writer Jakob Bilinski. The film we're going to talk about is called Three Tears on Bloodstained Flesh, and it'll be making its debut sometime in 2012. Jakob, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. I want to thank you for coming on.
Oh, no, that pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I want to give special thanks to PJ Starks for contacting me, and then he contacted you, and that's how the interview came about. So thanks, PJ.
Yeah, PJ, thank you very much. He's great.
Now, I've been hearing some about this probably for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, it's kind of hard to keep track of every film that's out there, and thanks to PJ, he brought it to my attention. So go ahead if you want to. You can give the listeners an idea of this film, of what it's about, and, what's going on with it.
Okay, well, Three Tears on Bloodstained Flesh, it's my second feature. We shot it here in southern Indiana this past fall, and it is sort of my homage to the Giallo. I'm kind of obsessed with 70s Italian cinema, and so it's sort of a modern, Midwesternized Giallo. Tells a tale of a guy named Dominic, who returns to the small town that he's long since abandoned to bury his niece, who's recently passed away. He's convinced that her death was not accidental, despite what everyone's telling him, so he starts probing about the town. He's sort of very much a bull in china shop type, kind of would rather beat people up and ask questions later, sort of what's happened to her. And as he's probing around the town, he discovers their dark secrets, and that there was more behind her death than what it was originally conceived. And he discovers that the town is overrun by a very deranged cult, and a very high body count ensues, and the ground is stained with blood, hence the title. So
now, Bill Gobin played the character of Dominic Merrick, correct? Now, let me give you a quick question here. Now, in order to get your cast, now, how did you ever come across Bill Gobin?
Actually, Bill and I have been friends for quite a few years now. We, both were in Evansville and kind of ran into each other, I don't remember what, it was several years ago. And I did a pilot, trailer for a pilot for a reality show that he was trying to put together, and, sort of kept in touch since then, very like-minded in terms of what we like when it comes to film and everything. And he had been asking me if I had a project that I was wanting to do recently. And, I just finished my last feature, Shade of Grey, and I was looking for something to come up with as a follow-up project.
Right.
And he asked me if any of the scripts that I already had written that I was considering doing next had a role for him. And, we were friends, but to be perfectly honest, no, none of them did. I just didn't see him fitting any of the roles. So we started brainstorming, something that he could tackle. And I started thinking, well, what kind of role would I like him to play? And he asked me, well, what kind of movie do you want to do? And I said, well, I've always really wanted to do sort of a modern Giallo and play with the genre a little bit. So I sat down and I wrote the script, and I essentially wrote the part for him. So he was kind of the only one that whenever we went into the project and said we were going to do it, that was attached. So I guess, just because we were friends and we wanted to work together, and I wanted to sort of customize a part for him, that's how that kind of came to be.
That's excellent. Now, there's 2 actors that's going to be in this film that I'm very familiar with. I will start with the funny guy, Sonny Burnett.
Sonny's great. I love Sonny, yeah.
And I'm going to say this now. I haven't said it publicly, and I'm hoping that Jim O'Rear hears this interview. I call him the Rob Schneider of the horror industry, because I've talked to Jim quite a few times. He sent me a bunch of films that he had, his zombie film Scream Farm, and we had in 2 interviews lined up, and due to my work schedule we had to cancel it, but I haven't had a chance to tell him this. But you know yourself, when you see Jim O'Rear in a movie, I watched him in a zombie film just recently, and the way he performs, I mean, he's his own self. But when I see him, he reminds me of a Rob Schneider, but in the horror genre. And I like Jim Rear. I love his acting ability. This guy can turn any role and make it funny. It's just amazing. And I think that's a good choice to have. In this film.
Jim is fantastic. This is actually our first time working together. I was working on casting, and he was in a good friend of mine, Josh Hull, his recent movie Beverly Lane.
That's
and
it.
actually jumped on a Facebook thread one night that I was posting about casting and auditions, and like we were trying to finalize casting, and I was taking some more video auditions. And he's like, "You're making a movie? Can I come play?" And I was like, So next thing I know, later that night we were trading messages back and forth, and I was like, "Well, I've got a couple roles that are still available," and I tried to think, having seen him in films before, what I thought would be a good fit for him. And, I ultimately settled on the character of Russell, who's the strip club owner. And I actually bringing him on, because it was kind of a smaller part, basically it entailed him coming out for a day to film. And, we started talking about the role a little bit more, and I kind of realized, Jim's coming, we should have a little more fun with it. So I went back and rewrote additional dialogue for him and kind of blimped his role up just so, we could have a little bit of fun on set. And he absolutely knocked it out of the park. Both him and Sonny are fantastic. Now, Sonny I'd worked with before, but either one of them I would recommend to anyone and love to work with again.
I agree. Now, that's the movie I was talking about. I watched Beverly Lane, and I'd seen Jim O'Rear in there. I mean, I'd seen him obviously before that, but to me,
he's been in 100 movies or something. Yeah, he's everywhere.
Beverly Lane to me was, when I rate zombie films from 2011, Beverly Lane is in the top three, the three that I've seen this year that I really enjoyed. And Joshua Hall did a great job in that film for the budget he had. And that was, like I said, it's just amazing that Indiana alone has a lot of great actors from that state. It's like I said before, a lot of states, the crews hang together. It's like Kentucky has their own deal. I mean, it's Sonny Burnett, if I'm mistaken, is he not in Kentucky? Or
Sonny's in Kentucky.
Yeah, because his friend Russ Crowley, those two go back and forth all the time on Facebook, so I know both of them. Yep. I interviewed Russ Crowley, but yeah. Actually, I just watched Sonny Burnett in a film the other day, that Santa Claus versus the Zombies. Oh yeah, he played the old guy, the principal in there. That was. But anyways, I don't want to get off track, but I think this film has my interest. I like the '70s, the '70s style of today's film. Same goes, I'm a big '80s horror fan, and I like it when they throw the '80s feel in movies today as well, because you can get cheesy. I like cheesy. '80s is cheesy.
Absolutely.
And I love cheesy.
That's the shit I grew up on. So
exactly. Exactly. Now, do you roughly have an idea of when the public can get a good taste of any updates on, when the possible date? I mean, you can't pinpoint it, obviously you can't, but is it like late summer? The goal is to start having a final cut ready for promotional screenings and festival submissions over the summer. Okay. I know that's sort of a wide window, but summer would probably be when it first starts being released. Yeah. With festivals obviously submitting there, that could be later in the fall or winter, because it takes a few months to narrow down, and fingers crossed, hopefully we get into some. But I would start promotional screenings over the summer, I would say. All right, well, out of respect for the rest of the cast, do you know the whole cast, or do you want me to mention them all? Just give them a shout-out.
I know most of them. Do you want me to just...
Yeah, go ahead and run them down and give them some shout-outs of who's in the film, just to be, fair.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, they believe me, they earned it. Okay, so we've got Bill Gobin, who's playing the lead, Dominic, and then we have, as sort of his nemesis, Jim Doherty is playing Sheriff Rex Driscoll. As Dominic's daughter, Kendall, we have Kayla Krantz. As his sister, Stella, we've got Angela Steele. Casey, who is one of the townies, she's played by Rosalind Rubin. Father Gabriel is played by Scott Gagno, who he and Rosalind and I, we go way, way back, so I've worked with them a few times now. And then a couple other people in the movie, we got Grant Musgatsky, Kevin Roach, Sidney Shripka, Alex Hahn, Julie Pyle, Eric Schroeder, Sonny, well, we talked about Sonny, obviously, Eric Dillon, Joe Atkinson, and, I mean, we have just a ton of, one-scene character bits, anywhere from Rusty James to David Bennell, Scott Fisher. There's some fantastic Tom Fisher. Wow, I got him and Scott mixed up. I can't believe that. But yeah, Tom Fisher, and then it's really just filled with some fantastic character bits. There's a lot of characters that maybe are only in one scene, but everyone is. Seriously, I know every filmmaker says this, but I really do have the best casting crew in the world for this one. I mean, everybody just came out because they love the movie, and it was one of those situations where it wasn't work at all. It was just kind of playtime.
Exactly.
And that's filmmaking is supposed to be fun. So,
And
but yeah, that's the bulk of the group.
I am very familiar with Rusty James because he is married to a beautiful, lovely, good friend of mine, Cindy Maples.
Cindy's great. Yeah,
I
both
love
of them.
Cindy.
They're good friends and incredibly talented.
Yep, Cindy Maples. I interviewed her, and I call her Patty Duke of today. If you listen to her voice, the way she acts reminds me of Patty Duke. Ask her about it when you see her again. She'll get a chuckle out of it.
Oh, and actually, I should also probably name drop Mark Nash. He came out and played a crazy hermit in town named Henry. He was kind of fantastic too. He's been in a lot of stuff. So
Mark A. Nash.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm very, very interested. Especially when it's brought to my attention. And of course, I do my homework. You have to, and I find this very interesting. And I wish a lot of success. I think it's going to be, you have that 70s feel like you mentioned about, and I know a lot of people today talk about 70s films, and I think, you're on the right track. That's what, I'm babbling.
No, thank you.
I'm babbling, but it's kind of hard to say a lot about it, knowing that it's not ready yet, but you have a cast to start with, and I wish you a lot of success. I really do.
Oh, thank you.
And I give a special thanks again to PJ for hooking us up to get this thing out there for people to check out, and be surprised. This could be one of them cult classics 30 years from now. You never know.
That's what we're hoping for. I'm trying to, I basically am trying to make a movie that I can, that's sort of an homage to those ones that I consider cult classics. I hope that it does well enough so that you can never really plan, but I made the kind of movie that I enjoy watching, and I hope that others enjoy watching it too.
Well, it ain't the same genre, but I can pick 3 films from the 70s that basically had 0 budgets, and are iconic movies today. You know what they are? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, super low budget. Dawn of the Dead, super low budget. Last House on the Left, super low budget.
And
there's many more like that.
Right there.
What's that?
I said you're picking 3 of my favorites right there.
That's my 3 favorites too. And the Hills Have Eyes, all of them from the 70s. That well, as a matter of fact, I'll tell a quick story. I heard an interview of Mrs. Voorhees from the Friday the 13th in the 1980 movie, and she said in an interview, she said, and a lot of them say this. When Friday the 13th was made, nobody thought, oh, God, this thing ain't going nowhere. Look at it today. A super low-budget film from 1980 is an iconic masterpiece today. So you never know.
Absolutely.
So, well-spoken words. You never know.
You never do. Hey, it's always a crazy thing. You never know what's going to happen.
No problems. Anything else you want to mention before we go?
Yeah, just everybody feel free to keep tabs on it and check it out on the website, or like us on Facebook. That would be great. Or you can keep tabs and see some. Should probably have some screen caps and a trailer here before too long to kind of continue the promotional train, and look for it later this summer and see what we did running around Indiana being crazy for a couple weeks.
Interesting. Anxious to see it. And all the links will be on the interview, the websites, the Facebook, so all I got to do is go in there and click, like, add, however. So,
Excellent.
Thanks a lot for coming on. I appreciate you coming on and talking about this. I'm psyched.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much.
No problem. And you take care of yourself.
You too.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks.
We'll see you.